Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. It's Friday afternoon, December 1st, and this is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for college football week 14. Of course, we've got a bunch of conference championship games going this weekend, a small slate of cards, but small slate of games, but each one of them very, very interesting. Brent from BetDSI, thanks for being back with us one final week here in college football.
Good to be with you, Peter.
Okay, we'll hear about all the notable action that you've taken from all the games coming up this weekend, but let's talk about three of the big ones, right? Georgia, Auburn. Obviously, Auburn awesome. They beat Alabama last week, 3 weeks ago. They blew out Georgia, so I'm assuming that at least a decent amount of public action has come in on Auburn, if not overwhelming public action, but the line has gone down just a little bit. It was 2.5 or 3 a few days ago. Now it's down to 1.5 or 2. So I don't know, just looking at the line movement and this matchup on paper, this appears to my eye to have possible public sharp split written all over it. Public, of course, on Auburn, sharps on Georgia, or not. What can you tell us, Brent?
I can tell you that you're bang on this time around, Peter.
Yes.
I mean, if you're actually talking about as we are right now, this line is down to a pick, and I mean, I've even seen a couple of places go -1 on Georgia now. So this line has completely flipped. I do have a wager count that favors Auburn, as you alluded to. You're bang on with that. The count is about it's almost like 1.5 to 1's favor Auburn, so it's not a dramatic count, going one way. And you don't really expect it to be dramatically one way when you got two teams of this caliber going against each other. But yeah, the sharp action did come on Georgia. Now, unfortunately for me, I guess is they did grab it at the +3. But if you look at the way the market's gone, the public going with Auburn and the sharps on Georgia, you kind of get the feeling that there's more than one sharp on Georgia as well. Going from 3 down to 2.5 down to, yesterday it was 2. Earlier today it was down to 1.5 or 1, and now it's basically a pick across the board or 1 on either side. So I'm sure there's sharp action being taken in other places as well.
All right, Brent. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just eyeing that line and the line movement, I could kind of tell just without talking to you what the situation was there. And then the next game I want to ask you about is Miami-Clemson. A sharp public split on Georgia-Auburn. This one might have sharps and public going one way, going the same way, written all over it as well. Of course, Miami off of their first loss last week as a double-digit favorite over Pittsburgh. Clemson is awesome. Obviously, nothing else really to say about them. The line has gotten bet consistently up since it opened. At some places it opened at 5, other places it opened a bit higher, but it got bet up to 7 and then way past 7, got all the way up to 9.5. There has been, I think, a little bit of market buyback at 9.5, so it's now kind of down to a 9 at a bunch of places. But I could see you telling us that sharps came in on Clemson early and then the public tailed them big later on in the week. Is that what happened here?
Well, let's not forget that the plays that we talked about on this show last week did go 5-2, Peter. We'd be remiss if we kind of skipped right over that, No. And I do want to mention, too, that Pittsburgh was a sharp play. I mean, as you saw, that line completely dropped. Pittsburgh, it's kind of one of those weird ones where you look at a team who's 4-7 going on against a team that's 10-0, and you're like, this line keeps on dropping, it keeps on dropping. But that was sharp action there last week. This week, looking at this game, the line has kind of crept up slowly from the 7.5 up to about 9 where we are right now. And I don't have any sharp action to follow this game, but I've just got a wager count that, probably no surprise does favor Clemson. Now, it's not a dramatic count, and it's not dramatic when I look at my dollar volume either, but it's just action one way favoring Clemson. At least, here that's kind of why it's crept up from the 7.5 to the -9. Kind of same thing with the total as well. I mean, this one is down to 46 from 48. And again, just a wager count of almost about 2-1 favoring the under as well in this one. So the total has dropped full 2 points. The spread has dropped like 1.5. And so far, it's just public action that I've seen.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually looking at the plays from last week that you told us about. They did go 5-2. Very nice job, sharps, but I don't see Pittsburgh as one of those, actually.
Well, that was the day of the game stuff.
Okay, right. Day of the game stuff makes a big deal, but makes a big difference. But yes, the sharps, according to Brent, did go 5-2 yesterday, bringing them to a very nice 75-56 overall on the year. That's a 57% win rate, big sample size, plus 13.5 units overall on the year. Very nice job, Brent. Sharps, and thanks so much, Brent, for giving us all that valuable information. Okay, and then the third game I want to ask you about, of course, is Ohio State and Wisconsin. Wisconsin, and this line has kind of been bouncing around. There could easily be big pseudo-sharp action maybe on both sides here as far as actual line guy action. Not exactly sure, but Wisconsin, of course, undefeated, right? And here they are a significantly big underdog to Ohio State. It has been getting bet up since opening. It did get to 7 at some places recently, but now it's pretty much down to 6 market wide. So I'm assuming there's big two-way action on this game. As far as sharp action, maybe, maybe not. What can you tell us, Brent?
Yeah, this one's it's kind of an interesting one. I'm surprised by the betting the way it's gone, and just because I do have a wager count that favors Wisconsin. It just like that almost never happens through the course of a season where you get money and a count going against Ohio State. I mean, generally the public is all over Ohio State, but I guess you're just looking flat up at the records and saying, well, how can you go against Wisconsin now? They haven't lost a game all season. So I do have a wager count about 1.5 times favoring Wisconsin, not even 2-1, but just slightly favoring Wisconsin. And I've got more money on Ohio State, so it's kind of the money at least here that's driven that the line movement that we've seen. But it's kind of like I said, I don't have any sharp action on either side of this one. Just the heavier bets, bigger dollar volume I've taken so far on Ohio State. That's kind of had this number going back and forth. We are sitting at -6 right now, and I think everyone pretty much across the board has settled at 6 right now. So, it's not a sharp and public split in this case. It's just the fact that I've got good two-way action, but just public involvement so far. And again, I think it's notable whenever I get a wager count favoring anyone who's playing against Ohio State. They're usually just such a public side. Total as well, just a kind of slight drop on the total from 53.5 down to either 51 or 51.5. And again, it's just a slight wager count favoring the under on that one, not a sharp involvement so far.
Okay. All right. Well, those are 3 of the more interesting high-profile games on the card. Sharp action on Georgia +3. We have identified that as a sharp side. And what else can you tell us about the rest of the very modest card from college football week 14, Brent?
Yeah, it is a modest card, and because of that, I've got to talk about some modest teams and some modest games, and that would be first off the sharp action that came in on Georgia State versus Iowa. Georgia State at home this game. Sharp action came in on this one at -4 Georgia State, and we're up to 6 right now. I think this line's kind of once we got up to 6, it's bounced kind of back and forth between 5.5 and 6, but early sharp action was on Georgia State at the -4. We have a total for you, which is Troy and Arkansas State. And from doing this show, we never really like it when we've got sharp money on the over in any college football games, and actually NFL games, you could say as well. And in this case, Troy and Arkansas State, I do have sharp action on this one. It came at over 58 is where that money came in, and we're up like 60 right now. So there's some, 60, 60.5, or 59.5 still out there, but over 58, I did take sharp action on that one. Of course, I have a wager count almost 2-1 favoring the over in that game as well. So I got public action going over, no surprise. Akron and Toledo. It's funny you're talking about these games like this. You talk about the MAC championship game, and you got a spread of 21 points. It's like what kind of championship game is that when you got a 21-point favorite? But this line has crept up on Toledo from around 18.5 up to 21, and kind of maybe like coinciding with that move on the heavy favorite is the total going up as well. Over 54 is where we open, and up to 58.5 right now. Sharp action did come on that total as well, over 58.5. So I've got sharp and public money on the over of that one. And the only other game I've got besides the Georgia one we talked about that with a sharp action is TCU and Oklahoma. And again, I've got sharp money on the over this one as well. This game took sharp action over 61.5 and up to 63.5 is where we are right now. There's even some 64s out there. And I got a wager count about 2-1 favoring the over because, of course, the public betting this game over as well.
Okay, 3 overs. The sharps all over the overs. Wow, in college football, week 14, 3 sharp plays on the over, nothing on the under. Very interesting stuff, Brent. Thanks so much, as always.
Good to be with you, Peter.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.